Well, we have been going over the chakras and we are on the final one. Now, I have not shown you this with this series, but this is a banner of the chakra system that we've been going over. And as you can see at the very bottoms, the red for the root, the orange for the second or sacral chakra, the yellows for the solar plexus, the green is for the heart, that blue is the throat. They have purple here as the third eye and this white gold for the crown. And we're on the crown today. But some schools of thought change this throat to aqua, which is what I tend to go by. And then I do indigo blue for the third eye, and then more of a purple up here. Now this one really has kind of all the colors in the mix of the crown chakra, but I wanted to have you see that that crown chakra is circular, different than some of the other lotuses, that are represented with these symbols. So that roundness, that circular shape is all about unity, wholeness, oneness, the interconnectedness of everything. The crown chakra is said to be the gateway to the divine, or the gateway to God, the gateway to the cosmos or to the universe. It is said to be supreme wisdom, the higher realm of thought or divine thought. Like I said, I usually see it pictured purple or white, although sometimes it is depicted white or gold. Let's see, what else can I say about the crown chakra? There are certain things that we can do to stimulate and to open up this realm. And one of those, if you're looking at yoga poses, is to create inversions. So anything where the head is dropping lower, to manipulate the energy and the blood flow to the top of the head. Now there's two glands in the head, the pineal and the pituitary glands, and the glandular system works with regulating our hormones. And when we're doing the inversions, that's one way to stimulate it, but also meditation. So meditation is kind of like the real way to get into this particular space or this energy field. Also, using sacred silence. I've mentioned before, if you've never done a silent retreat, I highly recommend it. I know for some people, silence is very daunting or haunting, or people like to avoid silence. They either want music or the TV on all the time, or they want to be around people or in an environment with noise. But look at silence as holding some sacredness to it. So the sound, we talked about the different ones moving up the ladder, lam, vam, ram, yam, hom, om for the third eye. And then the sacred silence is here at the crown of the head. We mentioned at the base of the spine, or in the pelvic region, is the dormant life force energy, what we call the Shakti, considered like the feminine aspect. Well, here at the crown is like the divine intelligence, the intelligence behind the creation. And so this is represented by Shiva. Now, the yogis often also say the indwelling place of the moon is at the top of the head. So the moon sometimes is referred to as the subconscious, but then other people look at it as consciousness. For instance, with subconscious, the sun would be the consciousness and the moon would reflect that. Think about how we are made in the image of the divine. And so one of the sacred truths for the crown chakra is recognizing that we are that. We are a representation of that. And then another higher truth or thing to practice here is being in the present moment of now. So with that being said, yin yoga is a great way to be in the now moment, to anchor into the body in the now moment, and to realize that we are more than body. So I love this practice for many reasons, but crown chakra for today. And we're going to start on our backs in banana asana. So when you come to your mat, and since we're going into that shape, we're going to lower down to our back and go ahead and create the star position or pentacle pose. And let's just start breathing in and out through the nose. It may feel nice to just be on the ground. Perhaps this is your first time today where you've been able to really control the breath and be with the breath. Let's go ahead and first slide your left foot over to join the right. And then lift your left arm closer to the face and start to pour and swerve the upper body to the right. So I like to keep both heels on the ground, and you definitely want both sides of your seat nestling to the floor, as well as both shoulder blades. Now, it doesn't mean the shoulders or elbows necessarily have to touch, but if this causes any disruption, you can bend your arms or even lower the left arm down if it's too much. Close your eyes and continue to breathe in a deep diaphragmatic way. Noticing where you feel the pockets of sensation here in the left side body. Even though both lungs are filling up, you may be able to connect to that left lung a little more so as it inflates as you breathe in and deflates as you breathe out. On your next inhale, go ahead and separate the left limbs, and your head may naturally roll back to the middle of the mat. And then walk your right foot over to join your left. Lift your right arm up alongside your ear and then curve off to the left side, opening up the right side body. So something that I'm going to try to give you today is a little bit more quietude in the yin poses. But before I do that, remember, anytime we're on the mat, we're trying to weed out the garden of the mind. So if you think of a flower garden, the flower garden can get overrun by weeds, and the weeds can eventually choke the life out of the flowers. And so the weeds of the mind are any excess thoughts, any negative thoughts, any fearful thoughts, anything holding a negative vibration. Because the crown chakra is all about growing to our greatest potential. Each petal in the crown chakra that's represented by 1,000 petaled lotus represents an unfoldment, some way that we've grown, some way that we've become enlightened, some sort of epiphany or awakening that we've received in our lifetime. Now focus on breathing into the right lung. Your next in-breath, separate out your right limbs, let your head come back to the middle, and then draw the feet together for a supine butterfly, or your heels are actually much more ahead of the pubic bone and not so close into the body. We're going to do a hybrid pose where we're doing half happy baby on one side and half butterfly on the other. So if you pick up your left foot, catch it with your left hand. Let the foot face upward and the knee angle off to the side of the body. So we're working this area where the Kundalini Shakti resides. But still focused on the crown of the head, where divine intelligence stems from. And the last thing I'll say about the crown chakra, so I can give you more silence today, remember it's circular, but it's a full lotus flower. So some of the petals bloom upward towards the light, towards the heavens, to receive the blessings from above, to help us to transcend the physical to the spiritual realm. But yet, there's also petals equally blooming and facing downward, allowing us to receive downloads and allowing the divine nectar of the intelligence to feed down into the other chakras, into the other lotuses or energy centers. Let's release the left foot to butterfly and pick up the right hand and foot. Take a hold of it, bring it into half happy baby on the right, half butterfly on the left. Let's relieve that position. And then once that right foot comes down, you're going to flutter the knees together. Pick up your feet. Wrap your arms around to Apanasana, wind release. Let's roll over to one side of the body. And then we're going to come on up to stand at the top of the mat. So when you come up to stand at the top of the mat, look down at your feet, line up your toes on an imaginary line, and then stack the bones and joints. Roll the shoulders back and stand tall and attentively. And then bring your hands to the salutation seal, Anjali Mudra. As you inhale, take the arms to your sides and up. Urdhva Hastasana. And then grab a hold of your forearms or elbows. Bend your knees and then start to slowly double over. Hinging from the hips to perform dangling pose. Tipping your weight slightly towards your toes. Being and breathing here. Noticing this is not just a forward fold, but an inversion, so it can feed into the crown chakra. On your next in breath, let's step the left foot back behind, lunge into the front knee, look out with the eyes, and push back through your left heel. If you need padding underneath the back knee, when you set it down, just bring in a blanket or one of those knee pads. By the way, I've been seeing a lot of these yoga knee pads in places like Marshall's and TJ Maxx for like $7. All right, we're going to push down through the right foot. We're going to bring the hands up, lacing them together. Place them behind your head, puff up through your chest, and lean your head back. So notice I'm not sinking or dragging into my hips. We will in the next pose, so don't overdo it there yet. Breathe up into your heart. And exhale, now surrender the hips. Release your hands. Bow your head. All right, we're going to be on our knees again. So if you want to keep that blanket there, feel free. We're going to lift the head up, curl the back toes under, step over that prop if you're using one, to downward facing dog. Pressing into the hands, lifting up through your sits bones. We focused on this pose last week with the third eye, but notice the third eye feeds into the crown. Use the gravity to help. And your next breath in, just lift out of your wrists and shoulders. And then as you exhale, let go, come down to knees. Chest, chin, Ashtanga Pranam. Inhale, slither through to Cobra, Bhujangasana. Hold for a couple more breaths to gain strength in your back and upper body. And then curl the toes. We're going to lift the hips and push back away from the hands to a pose I like to call Mecca. This, as well as any variation of child's pose, is also considered an inversion. Even though the angle may not be as steep. Inhale, rock forward. Exhale, down dog. Now, if we weren't doing this online, if we were doing this in a studio setting, I would have the yoga lift available so you could flip upside down in a very safe and restorative way to do headstand. We're not going to be doing headstand today, but we are going to be gaining some benefits from these other inversions. Now the left foot's going to step forward. Give yourself a helping hand if need be. And then lower the back knee to the prop for extra padding. And push through the left foot so that your hips actually come up a little bit. Erect the spine. Lace your hands behind your head. Lift through your base ribs and slightly look up. Exhale, release your hands. Bow your head and surrender through your lower body. Inhale, lift the head up, curl the toes under, step up to the front of the mat, and inhale, bend the knees, reach the arms out and up overhead. Cross the arms at the top like we did before, but remember, we're habitual creatures. So release and cross the opposite way, bend the knees, and we're coming right back over to dangling pose. Your yogic readings or studies, you may have heard of what's called self-actualization or self-realization. And that's all due to this crown chakra. What gives us spiritual liberation. And release your hands. Inhale, step back, plank. And then from plank, we're just going to go ahead and take the knees back to that extra support. All right, we're going to do some hip circles here. So the first thing is make sure your back's not bowing like that. Your belly is drawn in. And we're going to lift the left knee to the side. And we're going to make large circles. And then reverse. And this is going to prepare us for downward scorpion. Set the left knee down. Let's switch to the right. Belly in, right knee up. And then create that rotation from the hip. And reverse. And set the knee to the floor. All right, we're going back up. Curl the toes. Take downward facing dog. Lift your left leg. Bend the top knee. Turn. And create your downward scorpion pose. Now, if this is a struggle for you today, because I had a couple people today that were really affected by this full moon energy. And one lady was just brand new and just didn't have the strength. I asked them to come to tabletop, lift the left foot, and then cross the foot over like this. And this is actually a better option if you are dealing with any type of vertigo as well. Because notice the head is more in line with the heart here. You don't get the inverted factor, but that's okay. Modify if you need to. All right, let's unwind, bring that down, take it to the right, lifting the right leg, bending the top knee, spinning open. And again, using gravity to bring the blood flow, energy flow to the crown here. And then if you need that secondary option, of course, you could do it from tabletop, like so. Wherever you're at, let's unwind and lower the right foot or knee. All right, we'll return to downward facing dog. And then from downward facing dog, travel the feet forward to the top of the mat. Straighten out your leg bones, sweep the arms to your sides and up overhead. And exhale, bring hands to heart. All right, step off to the side of your mat. A wide space between the legs. And keep your hands at your waist. Shoulders roll back, elbows wing back. Prasarita Padottanasana. Now again, any bouts with vertigo? Maybe you don't want to invert again. So maybe you want your hands below your shoulders or bring the floor to you with blocks. But if you want the inverted quality, hinge from your hips. Continue to release. And if for whatever reasons your arms get tired, you can always descend the hands to the floor. And then we're all going to bring the hands down and walk them out in front of us. All right, once you walk them out, again, you can have blocks under your hands for this, but we're going to take a twist. So the right side is going to twist open. And notice where you feel limitation. Maybe it's your shoulder. Remember, the shoulder should be opening from the barrel of the chest. So don't crank it back. Don't force it up. Exhale, right hand down. Inhale, twist to the left. And just notice, where do you have more range of motion? Where do you feel more freedom through your spine? Exhale, lower that down. Now, I'm going to use a blanket for this because I already know this floor is really hard and this particular mat is really thin. So I'm going to need some extra support for this. And once you see where I'm going, you can determine for yourself. Okay, we're coming down to the knees and we're turning the feet out like frog legs. And then we're coming down to forearms. Hopefully you can see this okay. This is not one of my favorite poses. I really have to make myself do this every now and again. Now, if you want to feed more sensation into your hips, you can push back just a couple inches away from your hands. Maybe sliding the knees wider if it's available. Good pose to practice if you're ever wanting to learn the Chinese splits. Most of us don't care to learn that. All right, let's, oh my goodness. Lean forward and then bring the feet closer together and then just inchworm, right? One knee over to the other. Oh my goodness, see why I don't like that one. Okay, for this next one, bring the knees together, sit back towards your heels, separate your knees, not as wide, okay? I'm not going to torture you that way. Right arm's going to reach forward, left hand's going to thread under, and then you can do a couple things. One, you can keep the right hand lifted on the fingertips so that you can see and breathe under that arm. And if it doesn't get in the way of your breath or face, you can lower the elbow down. Or you have the option to carry it behind your back. So you can choose one of the three. The right hand's behind your back. Set it back down. We'll unwind that left arm. We'll take it to the other side. So your right arm can thread below. You can reside on the left fingertips. You can lower to the left elbow. Or you can cross it behind your back. If that left arm's looped behind your back, bring it back down. Gently unwind the right arm. Close the legs together. And I'm going to give you an option here for child's pose. Or hands beside your knees and rolling up into Hare Pose to the top of the head. We're just going to hold one of these for 7 breaths, beginning now. Of course, once you release your 7, you're welcome to exit out. We're going to set up for our Shavasana. I suggest a bolster. I'm actually going to give you 2 options for Shavasana today. So for instance, if you're really needing kind of that extra inverted quality, you may want to come to this position where the hip bones come to the front side of the bolster, feet on the floor, and head resting on the arms. The second option, obviously a little bit more traditional. I'm turning my bolster up under the knees. You don't have to do that, it can be flat. I'm taking Shavasana here. So I'm going to chant up through the chakras, and then we're going to end, obviously, and remain in silence. Lam Bam Ram Yam Om Om. Go ahead and begin to stand the bolster down if it's under the knees. And hug them in. And if you've been in that passive crocodile, your hands can go under your shoulders and push you up and back. Turn over to one side of the body and sit on the edge of your bolster, please. Sit for just a moment more in silence. Joining your hands together to prayer. The light in me humbly bows to the beautiful light in each of you. Namaste.